A lot of golfers blame a bad golf swing for their poor shots, but actually it could be your setup that is causing your bad golf. In this video today, I'm going to solve the problems for you. Before we get stuck into the video, guys, Matt Fryer, PGA professional, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future lessons. Now, 3 things that we have to get right, otherwise our golf swing is already doomed. 1 is the grip. Number 2 is our setup in terms of alignment, and then 3 is our ball position. So I'll give you 3 handy little tips for those. So number 1, the grip. If you are going to be practicing something like this, a training aid, a grip like so can really help, but little checkpoint that I want you to make when you are gripping it. If you come in close here, what I want you to do is focus on the creases on my thumbs and my forefingers here, because when I place my hand on, whether I'm a right or left-handed golfer, these are going to point somewhere, and we'll do this as a right-hander. If you're a left-hander, just flip it. As I place my lead hand on, so the left hand as a right-handed golfer, and put it into the correct position here, just notice now that as I do this, this little line here points up to my right shoulder. And then if I were to place my trail hand on, so the right-handed golfer, so the right hand for the right-handed golfer, again, this little V points somewhere up to near that right pec. So if you make a good golf grip, what you should see is those 2 lines are pointing up to somewhere around that right pec as a right-handed golfer. If you were too weak, that's going to open the face, and we would see that they would point more towards the left pec, and if you were too strong, that would close the grip, and we would see that they would point way off in the back here somewhere. So first checkpoint, just make sure that when we get the hands on, those 2 lines are pointing somewhere around that right pec as we do it. Club goes in, and we can see there now that I've got a good grip, those lines pointing where we want to, and that's going to help me manage my club face in my golf swing. If I do that wrong in the setup, already we've got 1 big problem. The next big problem is all to do with alignment. Now, if I were to be hitting a shot, and as you can see here, I've got a station set up that's going to help me with my alignment. I've also got a cane out here that is in between my intended target, which is up towards the bunker. We have our ball and we have our target. If I were to stand and point my club face at my intended target, I then close my feet and I open my shoulders a lot, we have loads of lines that aren't pointing in the right direction here. None of them correspond, and I'm most likely going to have to try and manipulate my golf swing to try and get this club traveling in the right direction and get the face looking at the right direction to help me hit a shot on target, i.e. something like this. And actually a pretty nice strike, but the ball's gone well off target there. As well, a real simple thought that we can have when we are trying to get the correct alignment. We always want to pick an intermediate target, i.e. the cane that is out here, which would run up to our target line. If I was trying to hit a straight shot, I would have that. This would be my starting position. But all I want to try and create now is something where we get perpendicular lines. So my club face would point up to the target there. And then secondly, my body is now parallel to this yellow line here. This would create a train track system in that the outside line, being my club face aim, would point up at the target. Then the inside of the track would actually point inside of my target. As I do this, we would be now what's known as square in my setup. So as I would swing this golf club, because my shoulders, my knees, my feet are all aiming in the right direction now, it's easy for me to get this club swinging on plane. And because I've also gripped the club properly, I've got a pretty good chance of hitting a shot that would go on target just like that one. And third and finally, you may have got your alignment right, you may have got your grip right, but if you put the ball in the wrong position in your stance, not only are you going to alter the flight in terms of the height, the distance that you might get, but also your starting direction. Because if we think of the golf swing as a big circle in terms of this way here, and also if we think of it a circle as we look from behind, it would be swinging on an arc. And if I were to move the ball now back in my stance, what would happen is that the club would actually meet the ball earlier in the arc, and actually if we put the ball further back in our stance as a right-handed golfer, what that will do is start the ball further to the right-hand side theoretically. And vice versa, if I were to move the ball further up the left, I would be meeting this golf ball later in the arc, so that would actually start the ball further to the left-hand side. So when putting the ball in our stance, we've got to make sure it's in the right position, because not only will that help me get the correct dynamic loft on there and get it launching right, but also it'll help me try and get it started in the right direction. So a really good rule of thumb when we are practicing, if we had this little tee set up, if our middle of our body was on the cane here now, what we would want to see is that if we were using our wedges, lob wedge up to pitching wedge, we would have it in the middle of our stance. If we had a mid iron, we would see that the back of the golf ball would be touching the back of the cane here. And if I were to use a longer iron, that ball would move up, so it's about a ball forwards of my sternum now, and then as I get into my woods, it's going to go another ball forwards here, and then when I get into my driver, also as I'm doing this, my stance is widening. As I get into my driver, I'm going to see that the ball would be in line with that lead foot. It would be on the insole as we do that. So as we're doing that, that would help me with the driver hit a little bit more on the up, and as we're working back down towards the wedges, I'm going to see that I get a little bit more of a descending blow also. So for me, I have a mid iron out here. That means it's going to be about a ball there to where the back of the ball is on the line, middle of the body stays on the cane. I see that my hands are just pressed in front, I get my grip in the right spot, I've got the corresponding lines, and from here now I get my ball started on target, and it helps me actually not need to do a lot in my golf swing because I've set up for success there. So guys, 3 things there that are going to help you set up for success. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and why not watch another video here that's going to help you with your chipping.